Hello, lovely. Welcome back to my channel. Corey here. I guess I should start this video just by saying that I hope you're well. I hope that you're doing okay wherever you are, that you know how much you're loved and appreciated, and that you have everything that you need in this moment. Okay? Just wanted to open that up. Because in this video, and I've been struggling to find words the last couple weeks, and really just what I could share in this moment, what I could talk about, because there's a lot going on. And I am by no means an expert in any of the trials and traumas that we have faced this year in 2020, this hell of a tower year that we are going through. I'm not medically trained. I can't really speak to the pandemic and what we should do about it. I am also white. You know, I'm a white woman. I can't speak to the trials and experiences of Black people or even Black Indigenous people of color. All I can share with you are my thoughts, my experiences, share what's worked for me and what's authentic for me to share. And at least in this video, I didn't want to just regurgitate platitudes and really the same things that have been said over and over to the point that they're now mantras over the last few weeks since George Floyd's death. I can share with you what I have been doing. But in this video specifically, I wanted to talk about what I think is lacking in the witchcraft community at large. And that's just more folks talking about the intersection of witchcraft and politics specifically. I want to see our community get more comfortable talking about social issues, social injustice, and politics in general. I don't think it's talked about enough at large. And I've always found that kind of strange, to be honest, even, you know, growing up as a child. Like, why was it decided that in polite society, one didn't talk about money, religion, or witchcraft, money, religion, or politics? Why weren't those three things commonly and openly discussed in polite or mixed company? It just seemed odd to me because those three things influence heavily our society today. And in turn, because it influences society, it influences our very lives, right? And in my mind, the only thing I can think of is that silence is just yet another tool for white capitalist patriarchy to sort of hold the peace over all of us and, you know, help us to prop it up and allow it to keep going. Anyway, again, I have a lot of thoughts. So what have I been doing the last couple weeks? that I haven't posted anything. I've recorded a few things that just didn't feel right to post. I'm sure I will post them at some point. They just didn't feel as important right now, you know? And for me, it's been a lot of listening, a lot of reading and digesting information. You know, I spent Saturday reading through my city's charter. You know, if you follow me on Instagram or Twitter, or Facebook, I've not been completely silent the last few weeks. I've been silent on YouTube because I haven't had a lot of luck with articulating what I wanted to say in a video. But I've retweeted a lot of things, you know, pieces of information that I found as I go. I've been incredibly vocal about police brutality specifically on all of my social media platforms, save this one. And I didn't want to create a video just bringing everybody down talking about police brutality. I can share with you just a few things, steps I've taken to try and address policy locally. And then I want to dive into the broader topic at hand, which I said was, you know, the intersection of witchcraft and politics. So Saturday, as I said, I realized that I didn't know enough about specific policies for not just the police department, but for emergency response teams in general for the city that I live in. So I took yesterday, I read through the city's charter, and my God, reading legalese is not an easy thing to do for anyone. But I felt like it was necessary. And there are still some things that I wrote down that I want to research and educate myself on a little bit further. I've also been nagging. We can call it nagging. Daily, the city police department and our mayor about policies that honestly are necessary, but I didn't realize that we were lacking. And you know, realizing my mistake and how out of touch I had been on a local level recently. And in particularly the last 4 years, I've been so focused on what's happening on a federal level, been focused on the Supreme Court, been focused on Congress and what's happening there, very focused on what's happening in the office of the presidency and the president's cabinet, but that I had lost sight of the area that I actually had the most influence and say in, which is my local government. Wow, that hit me. And so that's what I've been digging into. I realized that I didn't know as much about my city's 5 council members as I should know, and that worries me. So over the next week, I plan on digging into those folks and looking at that pretty much with a microscope. And I find it very interesting, in particular, that my mayor has not tweeted anything out of his account in months. Yeah. Thinking this individual is sleeping on the job. So local steps is what I've been focused on, which brings me to talking about politics in general and what I feel is a misstep in the witchcraft community at large, the spiritual community at large. We'll focus on that, the larger spiritual community. I have wanted to make a video for like 2 years on what I believe is the toxicity of love and light and toxic positivity in the spiritual community. And I've really struggled with how to voice my thoughts on this, because talking about politics, talking about social injustice, like I work in the mortgage industry. I could do a whole video on the social injustice of redlining and why we now have laws in place against redlining. You know what I mean? If you don't know what I mean, Google redlining. Okay? But then there's that fear of, you know, going outside my wheelhouse. You know, there's that voice in the back of my head, stay in your lane, Corey, stay in your lane. You're not a social justice warrior. You're not a social worker. You're not in law, right? Or you don't have a law degree, and I don't. Talk about witchcraft. Stay out of talking about politics. But you know what? That doesn't feel authentic to me. That feels counterintuitive. It does, and I'm going to tell you why. Politics, and let's break down the definition, right? So there's a couple definitions, Webster definitions of politics, right? Politics are the activities associated with the governance of a country or area or other area, so like a city, region, county, okay? Also, the politics could be described as the activities of governments concerning the political relations between countries. Okay. And 3, the academic study of government and state. So we have an academic approach. We have a worldwide approach of, you know, interrelationships between governing bodies. And then at its base level, activities associated with the governance of a country or area or region. Yeah? Which, breaking it down, policies in these activities, policies govern our lives, every area of our lives, every facet governed by policies, okay? So to try and extract or separate politics from life, and specifically witchcraft, doesn't make sense to me. I don't feel that they can be separated, nor should they be. Talking about life contextually and witchcraft removed from politics, you know, I feel like we're describing a picture, a puzzle with pieces missing. Because politics and policies, they govern how businesses operate. They govern how this platform that I'm speaking to you operates, right? They govern what social programs are available in an area. They govern our police departments, our emergency response teams. They govern how tax dollars are spent, how the public schools in that area are run and administered. They govern everything. How much tax is charged on my gas, whether or not the potholes in the roads that I drive on are filled, when and how they're filled as well, whether or not there's a traffic light on the corner, whether or not there's a stop sign at the end of my street, right? They govern how the dollars from the property tax that I pay on this house gets divided up. It influences everything. Everything. So this false idea that we have that politics and life can be separated, y'all, it just seems ridiculous to me. It seems ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I think what people are afraid to talk about is partisanship, which is that's a whole other mixed bag, right? I'm not going to bring that into this video. But I think we need to get very clear that if it's partisanship, and I'm speaking specifically to folks in the US, okay, US citizens watching this, or people residing in the US, excuse me, because you're all affected, okay, whether you're a resident or an actual citizen, okay? So if you live in the US, right, I think if it's partisanship that you don't want to talk about, be specific about that, but don't blanket under just, politics, okay? Because politics and policies are important. To talk about them is important. And that brings me to my witchcraft, okay? My witchcraft practice also permeates every area of my life. I can't separate it. I am a witch when I'm working, okay? I am a witch when I'm parenting. I am a witch when I am just sitting having conversations with my husband or friends or family. If I'm at a family barbecue, I'm still a witch, and I'm still operating in the capacity of being a witch. I can't divorce witchcraft from my quote-unquote secular life. It doesn't work that way for me. It permeates everywhere, okay? So I feel the same about politics, which means that politics and policies and understanding those are going to influence my witchcraft practice. They're all going to intersect to some degree or another, okay? Now, if I were going to break witchcraft down into two groups, two types, I guess we could say, or at least my practice, again, because I can only speak for me, y'all, just me and my experience, okay, and my opinions, could break it down into two types. We have the individual transformation witchcraft, okay? This is the craft that transforms the witch herself or himself, their self, right? And I'm starting to associate this type of witchcraft with a lot of left-hand path traditions, which I hope to go into in a later video, okay? Because the focus here is on transforming one's own perspective, examining the ego, examining our personal shadow, okay? And doing craft that enhances our own personal life. Okay, it's the focus on the self first, okay? And then The second category would be the collective category. This is the craft that brings us, if we look at it from how we as individuals are impacted, it looks at our connection to the collective, our connection to divine or source energy, our collective to deity, if that's something that you know, depending on your point of view and your own individual, you know, personal belief system, but it's connecting us to the whole, right? That expansive energy, and also the craft that influences that collective, that influences community, okay, on small and large scales, but it influences, it ripples out, okay? We're no longer just talking about the self, we're talking about something bigger than ourselves, okay, which I mostly associate with right hand path. Okay, it's that connection to other, to all. And I group activist witchcraft or witchcraft activism into that's the second category, okay, because it is focused on change that ripples out and doesn't just impact the individual self, okay? And what I'm seeing, or what I hope to clarify in this video, are my thoughts on how we could kind of refine that type of witchcraft. So if you haven't thought about bringing politics or social issues into that second category of witchcraft, or really given much thought about that second category of witchcraft at all, okay, I just want to share some thoughts with you. And this is part of the reason why I've been trying so hard to educate myself on local issues the last few days, because I really want to and have been working to expand what I've been doing in that second area, okay? Because what I'm seeing is a lot of broad, general, sweeping ideas in the second category, bringing peace to the collective. Okay, that's great. But I think we could be more effective in this area, okay? So, and I want to talk about effectiveness in witchcraft in general. So I'll give you an example, okay? Because we need to start really getting specific on what it is we want. And we can't get specific on what it is we want in that area until we educate ourselves. So as an example, say you want, and we're using personal witchcraft as an example, but the principle applies in both areas, okay? So say you need $500 for a course that you want to take, right? So if you focus your craft, your spell, on getting a bonus at work, it could take months, it could take a couple years for that $500 to roll in, right? But, okay, if we focus on, okay, well, the result, I just need the $500. And so you cast the spell with the focus on getting that $500, okay? The universe has more possibilities than how they can get that $500 to you. You might get that $500 in the form of a refund check, a rebate. If you happen to have an Etsy shop, or you're selling old clothes on Postmark, or Poshmark, meant to say, maybe all of a sudden you have an uptick in sales one week and bam, you got that $500, right? There are more variety of ways that the universe can then make that end result happen for you. Rather than narrowing your scope at the how, you're focused more on the result, okay? The end result, as opposed to, you know, putting the universe in a box in the how. right? So applying those same rules to our witchcraft activism, you know, that's, or at least that's what I've been working out how to do. If I apply these same principles, focusing on the end result, well, what is the end result? What am I looking for? What do I want to have happen? You know, say I'm focused on witchcraft to topple the patriarchy. Okay, well, that's great. But then what's going to replace that patriarchy once it's gone? Okay. Or more effectively, say I want to topple capitalism. Okay, well, what's the system that's going to be in place when the capitalism is gone? Right? What if what replaces that, capitalism, does more harm than good? What if, you know, it's, or even just kind of the same as what was there before, but not better? Was it worth it to go through all of that? You know, but this is why we need to educate ourselves in politics and policies to do this work effectively, right? At least for me. And that looks like reading a shitload of history books. It looks like reading through my city's charter. It looks like examining the folks that are in power right now and what type of policies that they've been voting on and how they've been using their influence, and whether or not it's been helping my city or hurting my city. Okay? Because to be effective, we need to know, okay, what we want the end result to look like. Okay? There's a lot of, for example, there's a lot of discussions about defunding and dismantling police. Yes. But if we're going to center spell or craft on that goal, we need to have a direction for those funds to go. Because I would hate for us to focus on pooling our craft resources on, yes, defund the police, defund the police, defund the police. And yes, the dollars get diverted away from the police. But say then the people in power pour those funds not into schools, not into social programs to help people, to help homeless populations in cities, to help boost mental health resources. Say they just redirect those funds into the National Guard or, you know, other areas of other areas where they can then take more money for themselves, you know, become a little bit more corrupt. I think you see where I'm going with this. I don't want to beat a dead horse. I don't want this video to be an hour long, but I just want to talk about one of the reasons why I've been silent the last few weeks is to get myself educated, especially getting myself educated on what my specific community needs. The city that I live in has a very large Arab and Chaldean have very large Arab and Chaldean populations. And, you know, I'm looking at my very white city council and asking myself, embarrassingly for the first time, are those communities getting served by these people? You know, or really is only 40% of my city being represented right now? The people that look like me. So there we have it. I will let you go. I will not drone on for too long. But I wanted y'all to know what's been going on and what I've been thinking about. And I'm going to end this video the same way I started it. I hope y'all are okay. I hope y'all are in a good place. And if you're not, I hope that you find yourself in a good place soon. that energy comes your way, that whatever you need comes your way, that you know how much you are loved and cherished, and that you have a good day, that you have a good week, okay? I'm thinking about you. I'm sending you my love with all of my heart, all right? And that's it. Until the next video, lovelies, remember, Black Lives Matter, and blessed be.